I'm Liz Neesloss. Tonight on Greater Boston, Roxbury residents are pushing to keep their neighborhood Walgreens pharmacy open. We will speak to a local activist leading that charge. Plus, we'll hear from a business analyst on what's behind the move in the first place. And finally, from Boston's homegrown Emmy winner, Ayo Edebiri, to the big names headlining this year's Boston Calling. We'll get a breakdown of the latest in the city's arts and culture. Why are so many pharmacies closing in Boston's majority black and brown neighborhoods? Roxbury will soon be a desert after Walgreens closes its Warren Street location at the end of the month. It will be the fourth Walgreens to close in Boston in just over a year. And it joins a growing list of pharmacies, including CVS and Rite Aid, to shutter stores in underserved communities across the U.S. I'm joined now by Jenny Guadamuz, a professor of health and policy management at the University of California, Berkeley. So, Jenny, what's the overall trend here? This has been going on for a few years. Can you just explain to us what's happening?
Yes, of course. So, pharmacy in Black and Latinx neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods, especially in urban centers, have been disproportionately closing in comparison to pharmacies located in white and high-income neighborhoods for at least the last decade. We've shown this in the 30 largest cities in the country, including Boston, in previous research that we've conducted.
And why? What's behind this trend? Is it dropping prices or shrinking margins on pharmaceuticals, labor costs? What's behind this?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons behind that, including things like it's more difficult to keep pharmacists in the profession. It's a hard job, especially during COVID. But the things that we've seen most often are differences in reimbursement rates. If you have to think about what populations are served in these Black and Latinx neighborhoods, they are people that are disproportionately served by Medicaid. And these have, on average, lower reimbursement rates than folks that are paying for their medications with private insurance, and these people are more likely to live in more affluent neighborhoods. So that's one really big thing. There's also been a lot of changes in the pharmaceutical market, including mergers of retail chains, chains buying each other out, and then closing pharmacies that are competing with one another. This happened back in 2018 when Walgreens purchased several hundred Rite Aid pharmacies. So as the market becomes more concentrated, it leaves behind a slew of closures, especially in these areas that are, because of how Medicaid works, more and other insurers, more likely to have lower reimbursement rates and lower profits.
And Rite Aid has filed for bankruptcy. They're going to close about 20% of their stores, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we've seen in the past is that when chains, and Walgreens included beforehand, when chains close a slew of pharmacies, they disproportionately close these pharmacies in Black and Latinx neighborhoods. I would not be surprised if this happens again.
So these retail pharmacies, they all have a drugstore component, but they also have other consumer goods they're selling. So what's hitting that portion?
I actually can't comment too much about that portion of it. I focus on the reimbursement of pharmaceuticals. I think one thing to question when retail chains say that that aspect of the business has also been closed is what proportion of pharmacies close outright, and what chains actually just close the pharmacy, the clinical aspect of it, and leave behind the bodega, more consumer goods aspect of it, and then try to see if that's actually the case, that one part of the business is hurting more than the other. I imagine it's primarily out of reimbursement. So the actual drug distribution aspect of the pharmacies, and that's actually the part that needs to be regulated the most, because we're talking about access to medications and vaccinations and other clinical services. These are essential services, not just, whether you can get your cookies at midnight.
So you also mentioned, a bodega, a smaller independent shop. A lot of independent drugstores have closed over the past few decades, something like 50% over 30 years, according to some analysis. So how is it at all possible for any of those smaller stores to compete with these massive companies?
Yeah, so pharmacies that are independently owned, what they do is they have a higher turnover. So they open in these neighborhoods, and they actually are more likely to serve Black and Latinx neighborhoods in the first place. So they're important clinically speaking, and for the provision of medications to these neighborhoods. That being said, because they can be more easily excluded from insurers' networks of pharmacies that are included, quote unquote, preferred, or pharmacies that an insurer will allow its patients to use with lower cost sharing, they're more likely to close because they're excluded from the broader pharmacy reimbursement landscape. And we've shown this in the past, that because it's more difficult for them to compete, and there's a whole other slew of things, including the way that they get their drugs and the cost for them to operate. But even from an insurance perspective, they're more likely to be excluded. So I think there is a role for independent pharmacies, an important role, to ensure that these folks in these Black and Latinx neighborhoods and low-income neighborhoods more broadly have access to their medications. But independents are more likely to close in the first place because of our insurance landscape and our healthcare landscape more broadly. So without policies to protect them, they won't be able to compete and serve these populations.
So we did invite Walgreens to join this conversation, and they declined, but they have put out a statement which they've been giving to all media, which essentially says when faced with a difficult choice to close location, several factors are taken into account, including our existing footprint, dynamics of the local market, changes in the buying habits of our patients and customers, among other reasons. In their earnings call, their recent earnings call, Walgreens talks about stuff like serious shrinkage. Do you have a sense, are we talking shoplifting? Is that what we're talking about? Is that a problem for these neighborhoods?
Yeah. I think that's, I'll be honest, a little bit of a dog whistle with some racial overtones that Black and Latinx neighborhoods have higher retail theft existing in those pharmacies. I would like to see actual evidence of this happening disproportionately in these neighborhoods before I buy that. I think one aspect of their response about consumer habits and buying habits, I think, is actually more about what type of patients come here and what type of scripts they're getting. Are they getting high profit scripts? Are there scripts being paid by insurers that provide higher reimbursement rates? We should talk more about that and not into this kind of nebulous risk of shoplifting that hasn't really been proven.
Yeah, and they have been using it quite frequently, these large corporations, to talk about the money lost here. Jenny Guadamuz, thank you for sorting through this with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now we turn to the community impact of the closure. Residents of Roxbury gathered Friday to protest the pharmacy closing. Reverend Miniard Culpepper is one of those leading the charge to keep the store open. He joins me now. Reverend, can you tell me what is the ask that you had of Walgreens in this protest?
Thanks for having me on, Liz. The ask in the beginning, and still is, was to keep this Walgreens open because we think this is, in my opinion, a hub Walgreens. And when I say a hub Walgreens, I mean that when the Mattapan Walgreens closed, many of those customers came to the Quincy and Warren Street Walgreens. When the Dudley Street Walgreens closed, many of those customers came to the Quincy and Warren Street Walgreens. When the Geneva Avenue Walgreens closed, many of those customers came to the Warren and Quincy Walgreens because it's centrally located. And I've gone there at times, and there have been customers at the pharmacy all the way around the back of the store. And so we think this Walgreens is critical to keep open because of the impact that it has on those that not only live in proximity to it, but those that are able to drive down from Mattapan down Blue Lab to Warren Street, or straight up Dudley Street on Warren Street, or straight down Geneva Ave. It's centrally located. The other thing about it is there are many senior homes that are within walking distance from this Walgreens. right across the street, there's a Martin Luther King Senior Home Development, right across the street, a minute walk to Walgreens. And then the other thing that was really interesting about Walgreens' decision is they chose Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday, the birthday holiday, to close this Walgreens on.
I did know, yeah, pretty tone deaf to say the least. They are large. Most people are aware of that, but they are a massive global operation. It's Walgreen Boots. It's a worldwide conglomerate. Did they respond? They did postpone that particular closing just to the end of this month, but did they respond in any way to you other than that?
No, we wrote them a letter and hand delivered it to the Marlboro office. We got a letter back from the corporate offices in Deerfield, Illinois, and we're engaging with them to talk about a smoother transition once the 31st comes. We think Walgreens, if you're going to close, we need to figure out ways that the seniors can be transported back and forth, or that the medications can be delivered to the seniors. One of the interesting things about this Walgreens, staff was actually taking the medications to the seniors' homes because the senior homes were so close to it. So they would walk it over to the seniors who were what we call sick and shut in, walk it to them at their homes. And so
that is pretty amazing. I mean, that's operating almost like an independent drugstore, or really a community store.
It's interesting that you say that, because we're working with several groups that are working on, and I'm not sure whether it's going to be able to happen this soon, a Walgreens franchise. They're doing research into a Walgreens franchise. We're also talking with Frederica Williams over at Whittier Health Street. Groundbreaking pharmacy at that health care clinic. And no one's really thought about the significance of Frederica Williams opening that pharmacy. I think folks just looked, because Frederica is always ahead of the times. So when she opened this pharmacy, no one thought about how significant that pharmacy would be in this community.
But for those, though, who can't, Walgreens already is saying, well, we still got one not that far away, a mile. That's, a 20-minute walk for some people. You mentioned elderly. There are a lot of people for whom that is a big deal. And deliveries may or may not do it from a Walgreens. And there are a lot of other needs that people have they want to just be able to get very close to. So how do you fill that gap?
Well, we're working on it. We're talking with DoorDash. We think DoorDash could fill a void there where DoorDash, because they already have the mechanism to make deliveries, that we're asking DoorDash to help with this transition and to make some deliveries on their own. And so we're reaching out. We're working with a group, a national group, the Hill Collaborative. They've been focusing on farmer issues. But now that we've raised this issue with regard to the Walgreens and the pharmacies, they're turning their attention to the pharmacy issues. We're working with a group of pastors, because this is not just a local issue. The more pastors we talk to around the country, the more we find that this is a national issue.
And this is a national issue hitting underserved communities. Reverend, for those who are not that familiar in this area, explain the neighborhoods. This is for Walgreens, it's the fourth closing, or it will be the fourth closing. And so can you give us a sense of these neighborhoods? Yeah.
And so when I mentioned this Walgreens being a hub for the other Walgreens that had closed, Mattapan is virtually a mile away from this Walgreens down the street. Dudley Station is even closer than Mattapan. That's part of Roxbury, part of a little on the fringe of Dorchester, but it's really Roxbury.
Right.
The Go on.
No, I was going to say, for people who don't understand, we're not talking, as one person told the Globe, it was pretty compelling. I'm not talking about a sneaker store or I need a sweater. This is blood pressure medicine. This is a diabetes strip. Help us understand, what is at stake if people aren't getting it and they think, oh, you close a Walgreens, so there's another one. What's really at stake here for these communities?
I mean, for me, I think, and many of the pastors that we've been talking to, for us, it's a matter of life or death. Not to have your medication, for many folks that are dependent on that medication, especially with high blood pressure. Without that medication, we know that high blood pressure can lead to a stroke. Without that diabetes medication, we know that that can lead to seizures. So for us, it's a matter of life or death. And the significant thing that troubles me is that many folks aren't troubled unless it has a direct impact on them. Look, the Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, wrote a letter to Walgreens. We're thankful for the help that she's given us. The governor's office is working with us. Senator Markey's office, I saw a draft letter that they're sending to Walgreens. The city councilor, Councilmember Anderson, convened a listening session. This group that decided to protest came out of that listening session.
So, Reverend, it does sound like you are going up against a mammoth organization. These retail pharmacies are huge. So it does sound like you are going to need all the government input that you can get all that force behind you. Reverend Culpepper, we have to leave it there. I thank you very much.
Let me just say this. We have a David mentality. David went up against Goliath. When everyone thought that Goliath was going to rule and conquer, David conquered Goliath. We have a David mentality, and we don't need to conquer a Walgreens, but we do need to develop a partnership that is able to serve those that are dependent and that have trusted Walgreens in the past. We will win this victory.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate that and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Liz. Bye now.
From Dorchester native Ayo Edebiri's award sweep for her role in FX's The Bear to some big names signing on to headline this year at Boston Calling. There's a lot going on in the local art scene, and that's why we bring in Haley Lerner, GBH Associate Producer, GBH News Associate Producer for Arts and Culture. And Haley, thanks for coming on to catch us all up.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to start with the big splash. Ayo Edebiri, a winner of a Golden Globe, winner of an Emmy. Here's what she had to say in her acceptance speech.
This is a show about family and found family and real family. And my parents are here tonight. Probably not like a dream to emigrate to this country and have your child be like, I want to do improv, but you're real ones.
So we love hearing about a local celebrity. This makes a big splash. What can you tell us?
I mean, she's just the pride and joy of pretty much everyone in the world right now. And of course, everyone in Boston is so happy for her. But people just want to root for her so badly. She's an amazing actress, and she's just seems like such a great individual. And, you know, watching her win all of these awards is really amazing.
So locally, she's Dorchester native. She went to school here. There are teachers surfacing, of course, talking about, oh, she was so amazing and we saw the writing on the wall. What'd you hear?
Yeah, so I've talked to some of her former drama teachers who ran improv with her, and she was a big part of the Boston Latin School Improv Club. And they kind of expected this from her in a way, that she was always a magnificent star on their stage. They said improv was really what she did best, and they just love seeing the growth that she's had. They're so proud of her, and I think it's really great to inspire other students about what could become of them if they keep going at it.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point, and I think they are doing sort of Ayo-related events?
Yeah, I heard that at Boston Latin School there's going to be an Ayo-prov event, which is, you know, a little play on her name. And it's just a fun improv event. They're just naming it after her because they're so inspired by her. But it's making news among that school, and I think it's really great to see how far she's come.
And do you have any idea if she's coming back to connect with these schools?
Nothing that I've heard of,
right.
But, you know, I'm sure many students would love that. But she just really has done so much, and I mean, just the award sweep that she's had, it's really crazy. It's great.
It's amazing momentum
that
she's had. What else can you tell us about local connections? She has teachers, she has drama teachers here?
Yeah, she had a drama teacher, multiple drama teachers at Boston Latin School. One who even told me a story about when she came back her freshman year at NYU, she came back to visit Boston Latin. And she said, you know, I'm really having a good time, but I miss doing improv all the time, which she mentioned it in her acceptance speech, how much that she loved improv. So it stuck around.
And it's quite a critical skill for an actor to have. So it's really a strong suit if she does have that. And Boston is a big restaurant place. She has a lot of restaurant connections.
Yes, definitely. There could be, you know, a real life bear in the city if you want.
A real life bear. And she said, you know, one thing that's been really nice going to restaurants, being so visible in a restaurant role, you get a little bit of free food.
Yeah, people probably give her a big handshake when she walks in, like, oh, you're one of us.
And it's some free appetizers.
Yeah.
So let's turn now to Boston Calling. This is a major music moment for Boston, for New England every year. What can you tell us about this year?
Yeah, so the lineup just came out, very exciting. There's some really interesting headliners. There's Hozier, there's Megan Thee Stallion, and a lot of great local artists too that are coming and playing, which is great because a lot of people have had complaints in the past about we need more local artists, we need more diverse artists, and this year about a third of the artists are local, which is great.
But this started out, didn't it, as a sort of smaller, more local festival, or was it always this big?
There were always big names, but it was definitely a smaller festival. It started in 2013 at City Hall Plaza. So it was just the entire plaza taken over, which is way smaller than where it is now at Harvard's Field. But people have been wanting to, you know, go back to some of the grunge rock roots of the original, and some people just really want to have more local acts to showcase.
So, but you have this incredible range. You have Tyler Childers, and that's, you know, bluegrass country, Megan Thee Stallion. We're talking rap, hip hop. Who is this audience?
I think it's really kind of for everyone with this lineup. There's definitely some artists that, you know, maybe an older crowd that likes more rock or alternative can be there and see, but also there's a ton of artists for younger people. I think it's a festival for everyone, which is really exciting, and it's very fun to have it right here in the city. And it's really exciting for all the local artists that now get to, you know, mingle with some of their icons.
Well, so speaking of local artists, we have a clip from Kay, who is a local artist who will be performing. Let's listen.
How I come in just so effortless. I got you hooked, I know you wonder how I jig and finesse. The truth is everything I do, I never do to impress. Somehow I kind of find out words to express, but I digress.
So pretty great stuff.
Yeah.
She will be there along with...
There's Billie Dean Thomas, there's the Wolf Sisters, there's a lot of other great names. You've got to check out the undercard performers, because hearing from people that are, you know, in the local music scene, they all know each other, and it's a real camaraderie. Everyone's like, I'm excited to see this person that is also performing that they're friends with. It's really great to have local artists in, because people might be going for the bigger names to the festival, but then they can catch a local band that they can see again and again nearby.
And so what has this done for Boston's sort of footprint on the music scene, this festival?
I feel like there's a bigger reputation for Boston when it comes to music. I mean, there are so many concerts that come through the city, and I think having a festival like this, it puts it on the same scale as New York or, you know, some of the shows in California. It's obviously not Coachella, but it's a 3-day festival with some really, really big names. I mean, Ed Sheeran's playing. There's a lot of great people that are going to be on stage.
And Boston can hope, right?
Yes.
So this is in May?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to look forward to your coverage on that.
Thanks
Haley
so much.
Lerner, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'm Liz Niesloss. Good night.
Hey folks, Edgar B. Herwick III here from GBH's Curiosity Desk, where you ask questions and I find answers. Today's question came our way on Twitter from Emily Warden. Now, when I first saw this question, I was like, yes, that is so good. Microwaves do all sound the same. And then I was like, but wait a minute, do they sound exactly the same? I mean, I know they sound alike, but like exactly the same? Let's put it to the test. Okay, so I quickly got my hands on every microwave I could find here at WGBH. My apologies to James in accounting. I'm going to set them all to 5 seconds, and then I'm going to put them on in succession. We should be able to hear a bunch of tones at the same time. That should really give us a sense of if they are exactly the same or not. Yep, so they're all right there between a B and a B sharp. Not exactly the same, but pretty darn similar. And it turns out there is a reason for that. Popcorn. For decades, the same piece of technology was used in nearly all microwaves to generate that classic microwave sound, a little device called a piezoelectric buzzer.
It's essentially a membrane that vibrates and is electrically charged and vibrates to create a sound very similar to the way a speaker works.
Piezoelectricity was first described by Pierre and Jacques Curie way back in 1880. It is essentially an electric charge that can accumulate in certain materials when physical pressure is applied. That part piezo comes from a Greek word that means press or squeeze. Now the piezoelectric buzzer harnesses that charge to generate that simple beep. It was first brought to market by Japanese manufacturers in the 1950s and quickly proved to be a worldwide hit. Now on the one hand, they're pretty versatile, used not just in microwaves, but also smoke alarms and timers and all sorts of gadgets. On the other hand, they are extremely limited in what they can do.
We could set the frequency, but we couldn't do much more than that. The frequency and the length of that note was about all we had available to us.
This is why, for decades, nearly all microwaves have sounded the same. But today, it is a whole different ballgame. Thanks to digital technologies developed mainly for mobile phones, a veritable symphony of sounds is now available literally at the touch of a button.
There, so you'll hear that little beep at the end of it, but it's a lot more organic, it's a lot more musical, and it's a lot more subtle and nuanced.
This new world order does present some challenges. After all, that iconic microwave beep might not be spellbinding, but it is deeply familiar. Designers like Hughes have to come up with just the right combination of bleeps and blurps that says, hey, your popcorn is ready, just as effectively.
That's the main objective we're trying to accomplish, is communicate to you in a meaningful way and a thoughtful way that your task's complete.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and perhaps most importantly, let me know what you are curious about, because as you can see, I might just look into it for you. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there. Oh, that was it though. See? That was it though. All right. You gotta go back. You gotta throw it a little bit back. That's the technique.
The Curiosity Desk is sponsored by Emerson College, inspiring curiosity and creative expression in all of us.
Discover a new